Hey there, welcome to the Roll for Crit Kickstarter Pickstarter for the week of May 21st, 2018. We've got some interesting picks for you to take a look at, so why don't we dive in now? We've talked about it in our news show, and now it's finally here, IDW's Nickelodeon's Splat Attack. In this game, you'll actually be playing as characters in sort of a food fight war and trying to get points and knock out other people's coolness. This game is actually designed by Jonathan Yang. That's actually designer of Star Wars Imperial Assault, Doom board game, Game of Thrones trivia, so he's got a bit of a pedigree behind him. And I do think it shows in this game. You actually play as the characters from different shows. You can either just choose the entire show or mix them up a bit. And you will actually try to hit, spending points to throw food, but you could get danger icons, which pretty much means like if people hit you, they get more points. So it's sort of like you become a bigger target if you risk more. In addition, people have these hidden points that only they know called cool points. And if you get hit, people will steal them from you, so you're going to want to hit them back to get it back. But if you focus too hard on that person, everyone's like, oh, he's got a big point, so we want to focus on him. So there's this whole fun game of hidden point values, finding out who has more points and trying to knock people out, which I do really like because that also means because they're hidden, you won't know who's really in first or not, which is a big deal. I think it makes the game actually fun throughout the entire thing instead of being the one person maybe gets beat up a little bit and you're like, I'm not playing anymore because he has 50 more points than me. In addition, of course, for all the old Nickelodeon fans, you know, we've got a Hey Arnold team, an Invader Zim team, a SpongeBob team, and a Rugrats team in the base. In addition, they've got some stretch goals. There's an expansion, if you back now, for a Reptar, which adds a new mode involving pretty much Reptars and an NPC.
All right, cool.
Which is pretty cool. Like he's a giant guy on the board and you can sort of trick him to go after other people. As well as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And some stretch goals of, I think, All Real Monsters.
Okay.
And it has been on some other one, and I think Rocko's Modern Life. I think Rocko's been unlocked. And I think this is actually sort of a social goal. They actually want angry looks, and if they get enough angry on their Facebook post, you get the angry beavers.
I like that. Ninja Turtles, is it the new cartoon?
Well, the picture they showed was the old ones.
I don't associate, like that's not a Nicktoon. They may have showed it on Nickelodeon.
Maybe.
I guess because IDW has the license.
Yeah, and I think the new show is now,
on Nickelodeon.
So, and they want to keep the retro vibe, I think.
Okay, yeah.
It's all the old, they didn't use Rugrats All Grown Up.
It upsets me a little bit because it's not quite in the same family, but I'll forgive it. It sounds like fun.
Yeah, like I said, when we first heard, we're like, okay, this Nickelodeon, is this just going to be like, we're going to, quickest game ever. But like I said, from the pedigree in the game, listening to it, actually like, okay, this actually sounds fun. There's actually some thinking process. I'm trying to hide points and trying to maybe feign that this character has more points than someone else.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, as 90 kids, we miss all these shows.
It's a bit of a pricey game, though, isn't
That's
it?
true. This goes for $70. They're all miniatures. This isn't like a cardboard stand.
Which surprised me because you'd think this game, I guess they're marketing it at, as you said, people like us who have nostalgia and not for the kids today.
And disposable income.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in fact, I think SpongeBob's the only show, I mean, assuming they use old Ninja Turtles, that's currently like
still airing. Is it still airing?
I'm pretty sure it is. Like that, and I think Fairly Odd Parents are the two weird shows that are still airing. That you're like, are they still airing?
Well, if they get Angry Beavers in there, I'll back it. Otherwise, no go for me. It's been 1 week. Ultimate Werewolf. That's the next Kickstarter game we're going to bring to you today. Hey, you know Ultimate Werewolf from Bezier Games. Of course, One Night Ultimate Werewolf, their big game for the werewolf crowd that is a quicker, lighter version of Werewolf. Well, now they've got 1 week Ultimate Werewolf, which is basically the same premise, but over a slightly longer period of time. Now, don't get confused, because this is not the upcoming Ultimate Werewolf Legacy game that they are working on. This is still a one-time, one-session-only game, but it will take a little longer than a normal game. What's different about it is you actually have a building. In fact, it's sort of a crossover with Castle of Mad King Ludwig, because it takes place in rooms of his castle, and different rooms will be out each game that you play. And in addition to your own roles and powers that you have, if you're in certain rooms, you'll also be able to do different things. For instance, there's an observatory, and if you're in there, then when the night phase happens, you get to keep your eyes open and watch what other players do who may or may not be werewolves as time goes on. You can only affect players who are also in that room with you, so you have to strategically decide where you want to be, who you don't want to be next to, for instance. But the ultimate goal still is to find out who the werewolf is, or if you are the werewolf, to kill villagers, etc. But if you like these kinds of games, it sounds like this is basically One Night Ultimate Werewolf, but with a bit more meat on it if you want something with some more strategic choices involved. And the different kinds of rooms that are there seem like they're going to add some kind of fun stuff to it.
It is a little cool to hear about the room thing, even though this sounds like one of those games that sort of hitting like, all right, we're going to keep making that kind of version for it.
Yeah, like how many werewolf games do they have now?
I do, because I know when I think of rooms in Hidden Roles, first thing that comes to mind is Two Rooms and a Boom. And it is sort of cool to be able to think like, oh, because he's in that room, this is how we need to organize as a team. This is a little different than that game, obviously. But the idea where you have to think not just, okay, what does he say? You have to think maybe being in certain rooms will give you advantage, or knowing that you were in the observatory, as you said before. I should now watch your movements, like similar as you look for Merlin in the Resistance.
Right, yeah, exactly, for sure. Yeah, stuff like that can definitely add some fun new layers to the game. This one goes for $45, and it's on Kickstarter now.
A long, long time ago, in our old Kickstarter videos, we talked about a game called Posthuman, where I actually backed and got and played. This is a new game from them called Posthuman Saga. It is not an expansion or some kind of standalone expansion. It's a different game. And in this game, instead of all being on sort of the same board and trying to rush to the fortress, you're each sort of trying to prove yourself to the fortress. You have your own little map where you're trying to explore and have a secret goal. What's cool about this is it actually is a bidding system. So the way you work on bidding, you have the little sonar chips, and you secretly bid how many you want. And whoever bids the most gets to be first, and you go around clockwise. And they get to choose what available tiles are. So they can be like, oh, I really want that forest tile. So that becomes a big deal. And it's not just simply like, oh, I can just move spaces. You have to try to think tactically. In addition, you'll have secret goals saying like you need to see a forest, a plains, and a city, and then something else. And there's actually a storybook, so you may have different encounters like look up this number and see what happens. In addition, like the other game, you could actually get mutant abilities instead of just switching into a mutant. It just seems to be one. The first mutation will be a good one. The next two are going to be bad, and the rest of them are just going to make you lose points because you're ugly.
That's fair.
But it sounded really cool because it's this board laying and not just choosing tiles, but also an auction mechanic style. And instead of just the regular line, trying to make it to there first before any other player, you actually have to think about your own board and laying tiles to get more points if you can get them in a specific resource pattern as well. So there's a lot of things going on there, which I really like. And separating, I do think it makes it a little bit better. And the secret goals are cool. And plus, we're big fans of whenever a game comes with like a secret storybook you have to look up numbers for and actually have scenarios with.
That's always fun. Also, as well as individual maps and stuff like that is cool.
Yeah.
We both liked the original Posthuman. I remember the one thing we thought was kind of weird was the way the teams worked, where you could become infected, etc.
Right.
Does this have? Is there
no,
like an infection?
That's what I said. You do get infected, but instead of turning you into mutant, it's just like I said. The first one,
you just get
abilities, and then the other two are more like the one I recall from an example of a bad one was like back spines, and it goes over one of your equipment slots. You can't have an equipment there anymore.
Okay.
So they're more of things that could hurt you a little bit, but not really switch the game. You're still trying to race. And in addition, there are weird things that could happen. Like usually you're going to go through the full rounds to do your secret goals, but there is a way apparently like a secret mutant boss could appear before anyone hits their secret goal, and you got to fight that instead.
Scary.
So it looks like it has a game with a lot of replayability and a bit more, even though it has a story aspect, a lot of Euro things of sort of planning placement of tiles in an auction system, which I think looks like a really nice mix. Plus, there's already like two mini expansions. And I think as of this recording, they just hit their stretch goal for solo game mode, which I know I haven't tried it, but with Posthuman, I know the solo game mode was apparently really everyone really liked a lot. So good to see that this one's going to have it too. This will go for $59. By the way, this also comes from Mighty Boards, I should have mentioned, who of course made the last one as well. So definitely a cool sort of post-apocalyptic world game that has, if you're looking for something with a bit more Euro-y style, but still like that story, this is definitely a game to go check out.
Next, we're taking you on tour with the game On Tour from designer Chad Deshawn. This is a roll and write game in which everyone is a different band and you're touring across the US and you've got to plan your route the best you can to get the most points. Everyone is going to have their own map of the United States along with some dry erase markers, and cards will come out depicting different regions of the board, and then you are going to roll dice, 2 dice to be exact. So for instance, if you get a 7 and a 3, you'll have 2 numbers, 73 and 37. And you have to write those 2 numbers in 2 different areas on your map of the United States. If you manage to write the number in the exact location specified on a card, you get to circle it, and that's worth more points later. And eventually, once you've written down all your numbers in whatever order you desire, you're going to plan your route across the United States, going from the lowest number to the highest on your map. And you'll get a point for each city that you pass through that you wrote a number on, and an extra point if it's one that you circled. So you have to be strategic in where you place those numbers, how you place them. You want to leave room because once you've written a number down in a certain city, you're not going to be able to go back and change that. And there's also some tweaks you can make to setup so that every game feels different. And another cool thing about this one is you can do it as a solo game, or with 3 or 4 players, or if you get extra maps with almost as many as you want. Like I think they say 12 plus. So you could really make this work with a large group, as well as it sounds like for people who aren't as serious of gamers, it's a pretty easy game to get people into. Seemed like a neat little concept. I know you thought this one looked cool too.
Yeah, I mean, it stood out to me in sort of just being something a little different. I mean, not just the game style. I do love that sort of writing stuff and planning things like that, but also just the art style. I thought it looked really cool.
Yeah, it's got kind of like a road trip across America feel.
And then you actually have to take the real road trip and find out what's actually in those places.
That is what they should do. So this one is for $24 if you want to go on tour.
And finally, we have from Imp House Mad Love, which to some people are just 2 synonyms. But in this game, it is a Cthulhian Lovecraft-based game, but you are 2 sort of explorers who got trapped in sort of this dark nether realm. And the only way you're going to get out is by sharing dreams into each other and trying to get enough love. In this, you'll be doing so by having 2 separate decks, which will have either love cards, madness cards, as well as some other very creepy dark things. And you'll have 4 face-down cards in the center of the table. And you'll be able to play cards by sort of pushing them off, either into your friend's discard pile, in which they won't do anything, or into their hand where they reveal it and they'll play the ability. So the goal is to try to get the love cards to your other opponent, or not your opponent, your friend, but you can't speak and say anything, so you have to sort of like understand by looking at them and just be like, yeah, I can push this to you. Don't take this card, or do take this card, which I thought was really cool. And in particular, it's only $8. So not a real hassle for your wallet, which is nice compared to some of the other games we mentioned earlier this video.
Yeah, these games where it's about like communicating with your partner are always really fascinating to me. They're really interesting explorations of communication and how that works. I'm looking forward to, I hope they come out with a sequel game called Bad Blood. And then you could say, now we've got Bad Blood, used to be Mad Love.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a small Lovecraftian game or more puns from Jonathan Estes, definitely check out Mad Love.
Those are our Kickstarter picks for the week of May 21st, 2018. You gotta check them out. We want to hear what you think about them, especially, of course, 1 Week Ultimate Werewolf and Nickelodeon Splat Attack. I think those are the 2 big ones for this week. Leave your comments below, or if there are any that we missed. Hey, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
And this was our Kickstarter Pickstarter.
Nickelodeon magazine, please.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome board game content from Roll for Crit.
And please leave a comment. We're lonely.